Hey guys, so we're going to start with the 2019 AP Free Response, and given that it is now 3 questions this year in 2020, I'm going to anticipate that we're going to have 3 of these problems. Now, why do I think that? Because they tell us at the top of the first question that we're supposed to have an hour and 5 minutes for the first 5 questions. So an hour and 5 minutes for the first 5 questions. 13 minutes per question. So anticipate 3 of them, that would be fair. Now, some take longer than others. For example, this first problem here might take you 10 minutes. So this first problem here, nice describing a distribution problem. Let's hope for one of these for our 3 questions. The problem tells us the size in square feet of 20 rooms in a residence hall at a certain university are summarized in the histogram below. So you take a look and you can see it. And right away, the first question says, based on the histogram, write a few sentences describing the distribution of room sizes. So as soon as you see this, this is talking about, if we remember, size, right? Shape, outliers, center, spread. And don't forget context. We'll see how important that is in 1 second. Been stressing that all year. So, based on the histogram, write a few sentences describing the distribution. So, first thing I talked about was shape. And if we look at this shape, it appears to have a peak, a distinct drop, a large drop that's distinct, and another peak. So, first thing I wrote, the distribution of room sizes in the residence hall is bimodal. And then I discussed what the peaks were for bimodal, with peaks between 150 and 200 and 250 and 300 square feet. Now, some small things here. Distribution of room sizes in the residence hall and square feet. Context. All right, that should be nice. Then, for center, and center is a little interesting here. We don't have the data points, so I can't really find a mean. So instead, I'm going to try to talk about median here. Remember, for symmetrical data, we like to talk about mean. Skewed data, we kind of like to talk about the median. But for histograms, it's kind of hard to talk about the mean ever, so let's talk about histograms. Now, since there are 20 rooms, you can see I had to make a little chart here because sometimes I get a little confused. I listed rooms 1 through 20, and then I crossed out from each end, and I got between rooms 10 and 11 is the median. So I said, okay, where are rooms 10 and 11? So I said, okay, there are 3 rooms here, 6 here, that's 9, 1, that's 10, and then 7. So the 10th and 11th room is somewhere between, it's in one of these two. So, okay, let's think about that then. So, what is the smallest number that something in this range could be? 200. What is the smallest number that something could be in this range? 250. So if the 10th was 200 and the 11th was 250, then that would mean that the median is 225. But what if we look at the higher end? So 250 is the largest that something could be in this range. 300 is the largest something could be in this range. So if rooms 10 and 11 were 250 and 300, then the median would be 275. So a little tricky here to talk about median. We're going to look at what College Board says actually in a second about the center, but what I wrote was the median of the distribution of room sizes will be between 225 and 275 square feet. Then finally, spread. You could talk about the range or the interquartile range or stuff like that, but I just decided just to go basic and talk about the range. The range of the room sizes vary from a possible 100 to 350 square feet. Now, I didn't mention outliers because it's hard to tell if there are outliers and I really can't make a statement about that, so we're good. Now, what does College Board say? They say, for part 1, which is this part, you get essentially correct if you satisfy all 4 of the following. You say the shape is bimodal, or that there are 2 peaks, or that there are 2 clusters. We did bimodal. The center is between 200 and 300 square feet. That's kind of vague, but they're saying you need to say something about the center being in that range, which we did. The spread is addressed by stating the range is a possible value between 150 and 250, or the IQR is between 50 and 150, or all room sizes are between 100 and 350. I did the all room sizes, but any of those 3 would have been fine. And then look at choice 4. Response includes context. If you do parts 1, 2, and 3 perfect, but don't do part 4, you can only get a P on that section. Now, for center here, there's some notes here. It's interesting. A lot of notes. Look at this. All this is about the center. let's look where it says about the median. Here we go. Responses that address center using approximate language, such as the median of the distribution is approximately 225, must, for any single measure of center, specify a numeric value that is not less than 200 and not greater than 300. Yeah, so basically what they're saying is if you throw a number in there, you have to say approximately. So if you say, oh, I think the median is about 225, that's fine because you said about. You can't say the median is 225. You can take an educated guess as long as it's accurate, but you must use approximate language. Keep that in mind. Now, part B. Here is a summary of all the data, and it says, just gives you the mean, standard deviation, and then the 5-number summary right here. Now, the 5-number summary is going to be important because it says, determine whether there are outliers, and then use the following grid to sketch a box plot. So outlier rule is 1.5 times the IQR, right? IQR is Q3 minus Q1. 1.5 times that is 177. So take quartile 3, make your fences. Add 177 to Q3, subtract 177 to Q1. You go between 469 and negative 3. So it says an outlier would be a square footage less than negative 3 or greater than 469, which minimum 134, maximum 315. We do not have that, so there are no outliers. Now, what do we need for full credit in section B? Let's go take a look. Essentially correct if it satisfies the following 3. Computation of both the upper and lower bound fences, we did that. A correct decision, we did that, no outliers. And then the last part, correct justification that compares the data with the fences. Okay, so I did not do that. So I would have to go back and say, so there are no outliers since, I don't know what word that is, since our min value is 134 and max value is 315. And that small little sentence would have gotten me not a perfect score. Last part of that section, create the box plot, and there it is. Remember, it's our 5-number summary. Min, Q1, median, Q3, and max. Now, they're not going to be super, super annoying about where you place the dots or the lines or whatever you want to call them, but make sure they're sort of accurate. Just double check that because it's such an easy problem that you don't want to get points off for putting the dot in the wrong spot. Okay? And then part C, what characteristics of the shape of the distribution are apparent from the histogram but not the box plot? Well, in the histogram, it is more clear that the distribution is bimodal, where that is not possible to see in the box plot. And that's really the only thing you could talk about there, because you could see range here, you could see center. It's shape that's harder to see in the box plot. Okay, guys, that's question 1, and next up we'll do question 2.